Medal of Freedom. Last week, Frank told us about the early days in his career with the Dorsey Band and about the people who were the inspiration for his style of singing. This is part 2 of my special conversation with the chairman of the board. You've told this story before, but when you did Maggio and From Here to Eternity, for which you got an Academy Award, the story of how you got that part, would you mind telling us again? It's an inspiration for all the young people that are listening.
I read the book when Jimmy Jones wrote the book, and I had read a synopsis in a book section of either the New York Times or some paper, and it told of what to expect. And then the book was released, and I read the review of the book, and obviously I went out and I got the book. I was just interested in what he was writing about. I had no idea what the content was in people. And when I read the book, I fell in love with the role of Maggio, the boy himself. And I thought also to myself, I've known 100 kids like this guy. I was brought up with him in New Jersey. When the news broke in the trade papers that Columbia had bought it and they were to make a film of it, I began listening to people talking about it and finding out who had they cast and who will they cast. And finally it came down to the short strokes, and they hadn't cast Maggio yet. They'd cast Burt Lancaster as Warden and Deborah Carr, and I called Harry Cohn, who was then among us, and he was the head of the studio. And he said, well, kid, he said, you know, you're a singer, and Bobby sucks. And I said, yeah, I said, but why should you lock me into that kind of a position? He said, no, he said, you know, I love you, but I don't know. He said, let me think about it. So I left. And then Buddy Adler, who was the executive producer, I talked to Buddy about it, and he said, everybody wants to play the role. And I said, naturally. And then it went all the way down the line of people I had spoken to, and I had no help. Nobody said yes or no. And then one day I heard that they had tested Eli Wallach, and I figured I was dead. Because he was my friend to begin with, and a hell of an actor, a fine actor. Yeah. I had never done a dramatic role. I thought, he's a cinch and he'd be marvelous. So I forgot about it. And several months went by, and I had a call from one of my agents who said, would you like to make a screen test? And I said, I would love to do a screen test. So I went and I did a screen test, and I didn't hear anything for several weeks.
Oh, the agony.
Yeah, and then meantime, I went about my business trying to find another movie to do, and then I got a call that they decided they wanted to give me the role. However, the budget was pretty small at that stage. They had spent most of their money. And I said, it's okay, I'll pay Harry Cohn if you let me do the picture, which is true. And he laughed about it. And they said, they want you to do the part, but they want to give you $8,000 to do the part. I said, deal.
You'd come down from what, 150,000 to 200 of those days?
Yeah. But that to me was a turning point, obviously, in another phase of my own business. Mm-hmm. And for 8 weeks, I got $1,000 a week, but I was delighted. I mean, I was just high off the floor. And when I saw it, I was happy with what I had done.
Of course.
And I loved working with all of those people in the picture, where I learned a great deal. And I must say, if I may, that the best help I ever had was from Monty Clift. We became very close on the picture. And Monty was a wonderful dissector of a script and a book. He came on every single morning with a copy of the book and a copy of the script. And he'd sit with the director, or we'd all sit around, and he'd say, I think the line in the book, in this scene, is better than the one that's in the script. And everybody apparently had great respect for his knowledge. And we made changes, little tiny changes, constantly. And if I had a question about how I should do what I'm to do today, we would talk about it, you know, and he was so good. He helped me tremendously.
That and The Man with the Golden Arm. Oh, those two pictures of yours I was crazy about. And they were different from anything you'd ever done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a tough picture to make, Golden Arm. It was very, very moving.
We'll return with Frank Sinatra, as I'm sure everybody remembers, that there was a time when you decided to go into retirement. Apart from our prayers, what was there that made you come back?
Well, I think I should clarify something. I said one day to no one at all, to the wall, I said, I think I'd like to just back off. Something like that, I said. I never said I'm quitting work. I never said that. And suddenly, the next thing I heard is that I was retiring.
Oh, that's what all the papers said.
That's what came out of the
Yeah.
the mouths of Babe and so on and so forth, and then the press printed it. And, but I really meant to kind of back off a little bit and work. I was really tired at the time. I had been doing too much work. And my work was suffering from the fact that I was doing too much work. My throat would run out of gas sooner than it should because I was working, singing too long and too hard. And then, of course, when I got a little restless, it wasn't on my part alone. It was the gardener at our house, the pool man, my own kids kept saying, get him to do something. He's a pain in the neck. The gardener said, he yelled at me all the time. He said, I said, okay. So they said, like Nancy Senior, Junior said, Daddy, why don't you go back to work? She said, it's just that simple. Go back to work. And I did. I just wanted to turn around and went back to work.
And you've never regretted it, have you?
No, of course not. But it was too soon to retire. I just needed a rest is what I needed. And it was almost 2 years, about a year and a half, I think it was. And I began to get antsy myself at that time.
Of course. Besides, you don't ever feel as well as you do when you're working, really. I don't think. If you take a rest enough so that you don't overdo it.
I'm happiest, well, within reason. I'm happiest when I'm on stage all by myself with an orchestra and nobody to bug me. Just do my own job and then get it done, you know?
Yeah, the hands I hold belong to somebody else. And I'll bet they're not so cold to somebody else.
You have sung practically everywhere in the world, haven't you?
Oh, yeah, I think so. Aside from China and Russia, I've been practically in every reasonable place to go to sing.
Is there any place that stands out in your memory more than another? Outside of New York, of course.
Well, I think England is fun to do. You know, I work in both, I've worked in both Albert Hall several times and also Festival Hall, and the acoustics are glorious. But I've enjoyed working in, the audiences are quite marvelous when we go out of the country, Japan and Hong Kong, and Dominican Republic and France and Spain, but the only two places I haven't worked with would be Russia and China.
Is it because you haven't been asked, or because you haven't been bothered to go?
No, I just don't have the time, I suppose, to do that. I'd like to do a TV show on the Great Wall. You know,
You
do a
would?
TV show, yeah. I spoke to Gene Kelly about it. He said, I'm too old. I can't dance anymore. I said, we could do a fun show on a portion of the wall.
Oh, be heaven.
And if I went to Russia, I would like to play only for the universities. That would be
a divine idea, though.
Just the universities.
Why don't you do it?
And we can.
Now that you mentioned it.
You never know about it.
Aren't you and one of your daughters, Tina, working on a 6-hour mini-series together? What's that going to be?
Well, it'll be it's a mini-series of my life, I suppose, whole career.
Yes?
Sure.
And are you going to play you?
Probably in the last 3 minutes. We'll have to have 2 or 3 people from age 15.
From when you're a kid, you mean, and starting.
And Nancy has a book, I think, comes out this fall, which is quite interesting. I read the galleries, quite interesting.